I don't know whether he was affected by it or not, but he did have a lot of good things to say about the Baha'i faith. And he found Baha'i faith is like a transfer station. If a Muslim and Christian, they can't get along, which they don't, the moment Baha'i faith is in between, they get in and they change. Then they see how they're connected together. Baha'i faith is that transfer stations. I've had many Baha'is in India. So he was very keen on accepting everything that's new and good, but at the same time he was a cultural man, and he knew what he has and what it is right, it has to be kept. So one of the manifestations of the Western culture is, I should say, what? This Bollywood. I like it that it's called Bollywood because it's not Hollywood. And it's unique and it's not trying to imitate. But the way these films that they make, that I've seen many of them, essentially it is good for the entertainment. It doesn't make you all that depressed, which is bad. It makes you happy. And a lot of theme of it is that the Indian movies, that they show human emotion. Humanity is always the part of the story. You know, the answer always in the Indian movie to violence is humanity and appreciations of that. So we have to be careful, in my opinion, not to get the whole Indian people worked out, especially youth, into imaginary, situations. They have to come back and deal with the facts of life that they're dealing with, For example, I've seen the movies in Tamil Nadu, some of them. One of them was called Mudopani. I think that's the name it was. I don't know what that means. Mudopani would have been dark water or something. The story of a dancer, a religious dancer, that how he prevailed, over the other things. It was just showing the strength of the culture. Or the other movie that was Shankar, I think Shankara or something. That was a very good one too. So that's the only problem that Indian culture has, is that as it's becoming changing, you see, this is what I've said to other people too, and I'm going to bring up this point, that in the course of time, Hinduism, it has been settled with this type of economy and this type of social aspect of life. No, I've seen economically, even the rich Indian or the poor Indian, they're basically following it. They're into it, they didn't change it. But when you change the social pattern, the cultures and all that, then this Hinduism as it is, it will not be useful. You see? Just like the computer program, it may not become compatible. So that is one point of awareness. But understanding, Baha'i faith, and I say this not because I'm trying to promote Baha'i faith today to you. You're probably a lot more Baha'i than I am, because Baha'ullah says Baha'i is known by his act. But it's one of the greatest means that, as I said, is like a transfer station to communicate with Christians and Muslims and others, Baha'i faith. I think the future of India is that, even written in Quran, the earth, it says in Quran, will be inherited by those who are poor. So Indians are poor, economically. Many people are poor. I know they have the greatest, one of the things that I forgot to say about the Indian, is the power of adaptation. They adapt to every situation. I have not seen any man like that. As I said, they are like They are like a steel, with a big willpower, but at the same time, they adapt. So adaptation is a great thing, it's one of the greatest attitudes required to succeed in this world. They will inherit the world, in my opinion. I have spoken to the British, I have spoken to Americans, to Europeans, but chances of them listening to what I say is very slim, very, very, very. 1 in a million, maybe, looks at this. That counts for 100 people in England. So there are 3 groups that they will come in the planet and they will inherit the planet. Definitely one of them is Indian. Definitely one of them is Africans and Chinese. So as the Latinos. I don't know what will be left of the rest. It would be a combinations. So I enjoyed my time that I was in India, although I was very poor because I was a student. But I always received favor from the neighbor, from the teacher. They were so polite, so respectful, so nice, such a great company. I think if the man is stressed out or depressed in Canada, in the West, I, as a psychologist, I would tell him travel to India. Just be there a month. Through the osmosis pressure. There's no method. Just the osmosis pressure. As you're with them, you exchange your virus and your distress and stress to them, and they'll replace it. And they give some of their spirit to you. They teach you contentment and be easy and let go. They are truly the embodiment of many, many, many teachings in all the religions. Christianity, Islam, whatever the prophets of God have said, in the Baha'i faith included, Indians are right on the top of it. They're closest to the Baha'i faith than anybody else. Not in their ideology, but in their actuality of their being. And this is really delightful for God. But again, like Africa, India is the conscience of the man. The way they're poor, that just tells us we on the other side of the world are not doing well. We have not understood this lesson that mankind altogether is one being called humanity. This humanity is made out of millions and billions of cells, which are me and you individuals. Just like us, we are made out of small individual cells. I say individual cells in my body, if they don't listen to the brain, the part of my body organs, they want to go on their own, what would happen to me? I'll become sick. And that is what's happening right now. The world is sick badly. It's almost dying. The European, Americans, Canadians, I tell all of them, those rich people, including Saudi Arabians, they do not see that the part of humanity in India is suffering, and Africa is suffering, and China is suffering. In American, South American, Latino Americans, they are suffering. That is their leg, that is their foot, that is the hand, is suffering. And if you don't understand, helping them is helping yourself, then you have not understood that you are the part of humanity. You think you are you and you can be egotistic the way you want to. This message has not been understood, and that is what Baha'ullah and the Baha'i faith insist on it. That we are all one, we have to understand that. None of the cells in my body can claim as a boss. I cannot claim humanity and to be a human being if I'm not understanding on the part of the rest of the society. How could I if I don't know there are other cells? Hurting another human being is definitely hurting myself. Could my right hand says that I don't like the left hand and then just go stab the left hand and thinking be happy? Yeah, unless I'm crazy and I have no brain. Society, your world is right now this. There is no brain. And it is another teaching of Baha'u'llah that he says the world must have a universal government. So much money is spent on military and army if that is being cut off. Because the world is just one army. If one nation wants to intrude into another nation's, very small army, all this money could be spent. So basically God is waiting to see who is going to house Indians. They've gone many places in the world, but my God, Australia, Canada, and so many other places, they can take millions and millions of these jewels of humanity, Indians, to their country and to their nations and try to contact and communicate from them. Okay? Although I must say, the Indian in the West are very different from those that I've seen in India. They are contaminated a bit here. They're not all that themselves. So, for India to assume the leadership has to understand Baha'i faith, in my opinion, because to transfer the Indian culture and Indian understanding to other part of the world is not possible. If it was, by now people would have become Hindu. They're not. It seems this is particular to these nations. However, if you want to translate and transfer this, it will have to be mutated and changed to something that's good for Canadian. In that case, that will be Baha'i faith. If you read all the elements of the Baha'i faith is in Hinduism. That's finally it will be. But this is the point, that not only India has to translate and explain this spirituality that they have into some kind of a language that could be acceptable to others, and that is Baha'i faith, because Baha'i faith is attached to all the religions of the past. In Hinduism, you're waiting for 10th avatar or avatar. Buddhists, they call him Amitabha, to come from the West. Muslim, they call him return of Mahdi in Jesus Christ. Christianity are waiting for Christ. Even the Israelites are waiting for coming of the Jehovah manifestation at the end, the God, or Messiah. So all the religions are waiting, promising to something. That is the center. To understand the spiritual center right now is to understand that the geocentric is correct, is wrong, and heliocentric philosophy is right. People in the past, they thought sun, earth is the center, sun goes around it. As soon as they found out what the center is, the world changed. So the truth is important. It is not so much for Indian. If the whole world was India, probably God would not send religions, as we're good anyways. But the problem is that India has to interact with other nations. The language of the interactions of India with other nations, with China, with blacks, it is the Baha'i faith. If you study it, you will come to that conclusion. And this is the pattern that Gandhiji has taught us anyways, you see. The evolution of the spirituality goes there. Very well. Well, I could say thousands of things and millions of things, but I'm old and my time is limited. I have to say a few things. If you are interested, you could go on and listen to the rest of my videos. I would be glad to see if you have any comment on it that might help me to correct it and make it to be better. Tonight I shared my feeling for all the people of the earth. Tonight was for India, and see how I feel about them and what I think is their point of connection to the other nations. May God be with you. May the truth be with you. Namaste.